guys, welcome back to the vlog. We're back here in the farm finally after months of traveling, and I'm going to bring you guys around with the updates happening at the tower farms and updates also with what's happening with our hugelkulture raised bed. And today it's not raining. It's been raining for the last couple of days, so it's been very hard to do some updates. The ground's very muddy in that sense. We also have some updates with the aquaponic pond, but we're not going to do any live filming for that just yet. We had to add a bunch of fish again so that we can repopulate the pond so that we can get more nutrients, because we finally finished the greenhouses, which is what I'm going to show you also with the other setup. So two major updates, which is the towers. We're working on fixing the fan controller, and I've instructed my guy Gilbert. We're going to go over there now and see if we can get an update and see if they've made some adjustments, and they just put air in my e-bike. Anyway, oh, hi Lala. Lala's joining us today. Let's go. So if you guys are new to the channel, we do tower farming, and this is our greenhouse. It's our first greenhouse. It's about 940 square meters, and so far I've not been happy with how things have been done. Let me explain. So this is the outside of the greenhouse, and it's a sealed greenhouse to the best of our abilities. We have about 12 exhaust fans here and 3 high tunnels over here, and lots of mistakes because there's a lot of heat that's being trapped inside. So we're actually going to convert these plastic doors or plastic sidings into all screen to get more airflow, because the greenhouse already traps a lot of heat to begin with, and the last thing we need is to reduce airflow. Okay, let's go inside. This is our fan controller, and it's an actual very archaic system because you can see it's a poultry sign here. It's used for poultry tunnel vents. So tunnel vents in a way are designed as a long tube, which means it's actually easier to pull air from the end of it and then extract it at the end. We have a very different design here, and I don't know why our greenhouse manufacturer put this in, but we want to get rid of this and put controllers in every fan and put a temperature probe sensor in every section so that each row going this way can basically cool itself down independently of each other. Plus, it would get rid of a lot of these issues that we're having with the fans breaking down or the controller not working. So inside the greenhouse now, and we're growing these amazing lettuce varieties. This is the fan that we're working on. The fan is roughly 100 watts, and the amperage on the back says it's only 10 amps, but the spike draw is too strong. So working now with Gilbert, and he is rewiring a system. What's happening here is Gilbert's putting in this magnetic contactor, and then we're sort of like jerry-rigging it into the system so that we can use a controller, but we'll circle back to him, show you guys first our rest of the crops. So while Gilbert's working on that, I want to show you guys the crops that we're growing here. We have 2 contracts right now to grow some lettuce, and the supplier said we want thicker leaves, which meant we needed to get different seed varieties, and this is the latest one. Looking so good, and then we have a whole row of it. Our only problem now is our reefer van broke down, so we actually can't transport a lot of these lettuces behind me down to Manila. So we've been using them locally, selling them locally, and we're hoping to get approval from our buyer because these lettuce leaves are so strong now. Get you guys a close-up of this on how beautiful it is. You guys want to look at how big our bok choy leaves are. They're so big. Look at how big this guy is. Like, that is humongous. I love it. It looks so good. Now we're doing some maintenance also. The towers once in a while need to be knocked down because the roots grow into the systems, and it's faster for us to get rid of it quickly because you have things like this where it wraps onto the support rod, and we need to clean that out because that's going to be organic matter which is going to go back into our nutrition system. So over here is our seedling area, and as you can see, they're not seedlings anymore. We actually put all the sprouts here, and we're prepared to transfer these onto the towers when they hit a maturity of about 10 to 12 days. And the beauty of this section is this is a flood and drain system. There's water that comes up, it wets the roots underneath, so that our farmers have more time to do the basic maintenance. I can pull out a tray right here. So you can see the bottom of the tray is wet. And then what happens is when we see the roots peeking out of the end of the rock wool, so this one still hasn't been cut. I'm going to go to one that has been cut. So once we have this out of the rock wool, then we can definitely plant this in the towers already. These are getting strong already. Now in the beginning we don't use the nutrient solution just yet because it's very strong and the roots might not hold. So this is actually all water. It's almost like our science class when we were germinating mango seeds on a piece of tissue paper with just water. And after a few days you can see the root developing. What you see behind me is actually the heart of the tower farm system. We have the water supply here, but before the water supply is pumped into this drum here, it's actually passed through a UV light, which is down here. The water goes up through the system, and then the smaller pump here runs it through the line, and it's picked up through the dositrons. Now the dositrons are passive systems where it can actually suck the nutrients. This is nutrient solution A and nutrient solution B. Now we do have the nutrient solution in powder form, which we mix over here. And then what happens is you can set the dosing right here with the dositron. We will adjust the dosing of the dositron depending on the test that we do with the cistern. So after the system pushes the water through, the nutrients are mixed into the water and it goes down into this line over here and drains into our cistern. Now our tower farm is different from all the other tower farms because we have this central cistern drip system where all the towers don't have any more pumps in the base. All the pumps are here right beside me. And over here what you can see are cooler chillers where it sucks the nutrient solution from the cistern, cools them down, and then sends them back in. In a way, it's like giving our plants a fresh cold beverage. Now the cistern over here is basically just like that. We monitor it from time to time to know whether we need to refill it or not. And then these lines that you see right here are basically underground and they're connected to all the towers. Let's go check that out. Look how beautiful this shot looks. Oh wow, I just love walking around here and seeing all the fresh produce. Well, I'm supposed to show you the towers pumping also. Okay, so as you can see here, we have a small sprout and we're going to try to remove this plant and show you guys that the water is flowing right through. So what happens is the water from the cistern over there is piped in underneath here and it runs through this line right here, and this line is connected to the center of the tower, which means it moves the water all the way to the top shower cap and then it trickles down back into the base. The base is filled with these rocks and that line drains straight back into the system. With this method, we're saving a lot of electricity and maintenance because sometimes when you're growing plants like tomatoes, they like to root all the way down, especially like kangkong. They like to root all the way down and clog the pumps up, which means it's extra maintenance. With this system that we've developed, we're able to reshare and recirculate the nutrients into the cistern and basically make sure that we don't run out of one nutrient, especially if we're growing a lot of the same variety. So that's in a gist how the tower farms work in respect to how we designed our farm. The greenhouse, as I told you, was a mistake, and we'll walk over right now to show you guys what we removed to help cool down the greenhouse further. Commercial break. Look at that beautiful cauliflower head. Anyway, over here in this side of the greenhouse, this used to have basically radiators. The radiators were dripping water running from the top to the bottom, and the fans on the other side were pulling the air through. Let's walk on the outside. So what would happen, as I was explaining to you guys, is there were fans on the opposite side of the greenhouse, and this side would be the inlet side where the air would come in and supposedly cool down the greenhouse. Main problem we had is that the system that they designed was very poor in terms of airflow management. So we were actually trapping more heat than we were cooling the greenhouse. And I can't believe that by removing the cooling towers, we were able to get the greenhouse to cool down even further by like 2 degrees. Now, don't get me wrong, the cooling pads work if you are in a low humidity environment, but here in our farm, we have an average humidity of like 78 all the way up to 91, and you cannot add moisture anymore into an air because once you're cooling the air further than how much moisture there is, I don't know the scientific explanation, it basically doesn't work. And we ended up removing that. Now we're still working on different ways to cool it down. As I said, we are going to plan to add some more screens on each side of the greenhouse, and we're actually planning to add a headspace cooling fan and a circulating fan on top so that we can even get more airflow, because airflow helps the plants create more rooting and helps the circulation and moisture get pushed away also, because moisture leads to molds and molds leads to a whole other host of problems. And let's look at this other beautiful cauliflower. Now these are our little Habanera peppers. They are notorious for being spicy. I have asked my friend to try it. Not a big spice eater, but yes, these guys are nice and hot. I see some yellow ones over here. Some green ones. No, those are not looking so good. So as you can see here, we are having white leaf mold problem. So we're not perfect. White leaf mold, it's not good for the plant. So what happens is not enough moisture, not enough airflow is pulled through. And because we haven't trimmed this plant, it basically is trapping a lot of moisture. Check out these peppers right here. Put my face beside it for some face track in action. Lala's just waiting for me on the outside. She's so sweet. Look at this. And lots of little peppers on these trees. Very pungent, very spicy. Like this guy has gone way crazy. Our kangkong with the most massive leaves, and that's actually a small one still. So that's a bigger kangkong leaf, and it gets even bigger and bigger. I get a lot of questions also, is this farming easier than conventional farming? I would say yes, but it's also high maintenance. Any farming is high maintenance. Is the vegetables cheaper to produce in this system? It depends which ones. Kangkong like this guy grows about anywhere, and I'm sure you can grow that in your backyard. Now, the Palermo peppers grows better in soil. The bell peppers also grow better in soil, but the habanero peppers do well here. The cauliflower gets devoured outside in our soil garden, so we can't grow that there. The cabbages also get devoured in our soil garden, so we have to grow them in here. And overall, without the costing of the actual installation, the towers, and everything that I've spent to R&D the system, the vegetable cost is cheaper to produce, yes, but that's not the real world case. We do have to add up all the expenses with the construction. So yes, this is a more expensive way to grow vegetables, but I never got into this to make money. The whole plan was always to support our hotel, Ava, and that we were able to feed our guests and our employees some really fresh food, and I can guarantee them that it's pesticide free, and that's what I wanted. Also, it was a personal consumption thing, and I love eating the vegetables here at the King Tower Farm. Okay, the boys are not here. I think they took a break, but let me explain what's happening. As I showed you outside, we had one controller which controlled 12 fans, and they basically batch fired, which means the one sensor in the middle of the greenhouse would control all these 12 fans, and they would batch fire in a way where it would just guess which area needs to be cooled down. Like right now, that's on, but none of the other fans are on. And I don't know how it decides to do that, so I ended up buying this from Alibaba. And this is a temperature controller, and this is a temperature probe. This is going to go all the way up to the ceiling. This is a magnetic contactor. So what's going to happen is the power is going to run through the module. The module will plug to the magnetic contactor. The contactor will turn on when it sees the temperature that it needs to cool, and then it'll turn on the fan. I could have gone with a super expensive system and paid like almost $500,000 pesos for an automated greenhouse system. But I found this to be much cheaper, and the nice thing with this system is even if one breaks, the others are on. The problem with a central brain is that if that thing goes down, the whole tower farm or the whole greenhouse shuts down, and I didn't want that because I already experienced that with this controller right here. So what happens is this is a standalone system. We tried it yesterday. We had a over wattage draw, so it didn't work. But my supplier came back to me and said if we did this system, it should work. I'm just waiting for the boys to hook it up. But excited to see if that's going to help cool down the greenhouse. And yeah, the last step that we're going to do is possibly spray rainwater on the roof of the greenhouse to help cool down the ceiling, because a lot of the hot air gets trapped up there, and even if we're going to have extractor fans and circulating fans on the top, it might not be enough. Next stop here on our farm vlog update is to go to the hugelkulture raised bed area. It is crazy, it is massive, and it's a lot of fun. Let's go. Walking again. I'm glad it's semi-hot today, but it's actually nice when it's cooler. But we are walking towards the hugelkulture raised bed system. Now, you'll see in my previous vlogs that we built the first hugelkulture raised bed, I think 2021. And it's been then till now that we've been working on adding more beds. Now, we have our test beds up there, which we've proven to the farmers that it's a very convincing system in terms of efficiency and the way we are able to control the nutrients from not going anywhere. So, I present to you our expansion for the hugelkulture system. We now have 67 raised beds sitting underneath our brand new greenhouse. And I'm just gonna find a way to snake my way over because it is muddy. Don't mind the mess. This is our composting area where we collect the wood along with the horse bedding, which is rice husk with horse manure, and we let it cure over here. But this is the expansion raised bed system, and initially we have a lot of tomatoes here. This is the new greenhouse made by Netafils. We're not affiliated with Netafils. You guys can contact them if you need a greenhouse. The nice thing with this greenhouse, unlike our first design greenhouse, this is called a passive cooling greenhouse. If you can see, there is a brick on top here, which means that there's a overlaying canopy for the hot air to rise up and escape so that the colder air can basically creep in from the bottom. Now, this is the expansion. As you can see, there's beds as far as the eye can see. We have a total of 67 raised beds in this area, and it's taken us so long to get to this stage, but finally we are ready to produce all the things that don't grow in the tower systems. We're gonna grow here, and I'll walk you guys through some of the basic things that we're growing so far, and we're gonna definitely expand this growing section later on. Our tomatoes on a trellis, and they look super healthy. More tomatoes over here, and in the next bed we have chili peppers. So these are bird's eye chilies, not much crops at the moment, but here you can see some babies. There you go, some baby sprout, just harvested recently. And if you guys want to know what goes into the hugelkulture raised bed system, it's a lot of organic material. And hugelkulture basically means hill culture. It's a German word for imitating the forest floor. So when you go into nature and it's untouched, a lot of the stuff that you'll see there is fallen logs, leaves on the bottom of the forest floor, some manure, some dead wood, some mushrooms, some fungi, soil, and a lot of organic material, which is what we're replicating here. And as you can see, if you guys want some more detail, you guys can research. Depending on your area, you can use things that are available so that you guys don't have to go too far and source these materials for your hugelkulture raised bed. Now, we combined the idea of putting it in a raised bed because as you can see behind me, our soil here is called Louisiana clay. It's color red. We can set up a pottery establishment here because of the soil. It's good for pots, but it's not really good for planting. The soil is very acidic in that nature, and only a few things thrive really well here because we have been farming here since 2016, and it's been such a workout to figure out what was wrong with our soil, how to amend it, and then working out like how do we do it, obviously in the, I guess, the best cost possible scenario. So this is the method that we ended up doing, and wow, you'll be amazed at the produce that we're going to pull out of these beds in the next few months, and I'm excited to show you guys. In this section of the farm is actually some more raised beds, but underneath it, I don't know if you noticed the concrete slab. This is actually a water collection system. We are collecting roughly 700,000 liters of rainwater down in the cistern underneath here, and let's go check it out. Some purple basil, some stingless bees working their magic, and then we have our chili peppers here, and we're gonna see if we can open this cover to show you guys how much water. Hindi pa ba gumagana to?
Hindi pa. Ayan bumaba.
Sayang, ang daming ulan. Good thing I'm doing this vlog. I found out that our rain collection system is not super active yet because there's a leak somewhere. So we definitely need to review that. I'm gonna call the boys now and figure out what is happening. But if you guys want to learn more on how to build these beds, I posted a first video on how I built it. The depth of the bed depends on the crops that you're going to grow, and the only modification that we did from the first video that I did was the sidings. Instead of the GI roofing sidings, which trapped a lot of heat for me, we ended up going with these plastic mesh style sidings. So yeah, it looks like that. And now the soil can readily breathe underneath, and we're able to control everything. And we've been using a lot of cocoa husk because we can buy this from the coconut plantation or the coconut processing area, and it gives us a lot of medium to work with. And the nice thing is it's inert, so it doesn't have a lot of bacteria on it. Pretty soon we won't need to do the watering because we will have a full drip irrigation system hooked up to the rainwater system, hopefully. And my bird's going crazy next door. These are a lot of the onions that we're growing. Some eggplant plants. Move over to the bigger area. Here are the bigger bulbs of onions, and you can already see some of these guys down here. There you have it. And excited because this is our first time ever to grow root crops, and we've never been able to grow root crops in these systems, and let alone in our soil. Here is some eggplants. This guy needs to be chopped off. I got asked also, what do we use for pest control, because we are a no spray farm. We don't even use organic pesticides because even organic pesticides sometimes has some chemicals that we don't like. So we actually just use neem oil, sometimes with a concoction of fermented chilies, and then we use that to spray the plants. There's sometimes some soap suds in there so it can help stick on the leaves. But we also started intercropping, which means we can plant some aromatics along with the other stuff so that it can help deter the pests that are going in. These are garlic beds. You can see from the garlic bulb right here. But that's it. Some beautiful limes. I think that's ready. I'm glad we have some limes here. Our not so productive citrus garden. Alright, so I guess that will conclude our video for today. If you guys want to see more, you can check out our playlist. You can follow us on Instagram, King Tower Farm. I don't manage the page, so please be kind. We have a lot of inquiries. And if you guys want to know more also about the hugelkulture system, you can search YouTube. Lots of free information out there if you just know how to search. On that note, I'll see you guys soon.